Welcome, everyone. Nice to see you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with my intro there, but I'll have to look into that. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's see the bigger picture. Yes. Thank you for waiting for us behind the scene. Thank you to those who are online. We are talking about parenting today, parenting styles and their impact. So, thank you for joining in. Thank you for your time. Thanks to those who have already logged on. Thank you to those in advance who will be writing comments, asking questions, making it as interactive as possible. Thank you to you can see our guests here. They are born ready to okay, what I've told them, I said, whatever you write on the screen is what I'll call you by. so, so thank you, Mama Kemi. Thank you, Mama Esther Olubanjo. Thank you, Mama Adekumbi Ajayi, and Mama Sheung Tolani Ajiboye. And we're mamas and papas here. So, we're so glad to have you join us. Please, put your inputs into the comments and let us know what you think about the topics or the questions that will be asked our guests. I'm still expecting one more person, but if it doesn't matter, if for some reason maybe network issue is not here, we will carry on. And thank you very much, our guests, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us.
having us.
Thank you. So I will allow them introduce themselves. I'll allow them introduce. Yeah, actually, that's the other. There's no other way of saying it. I'll allow them introduce themselves by themselves. So over to you, Mama Kemi. Who are you?
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I believe since people are watching from different parts of the world, here it's afternoon, but I believe in some places it's evening. I'm glad to be here today. My name is Kenny. I live in Canada, Ontario, Canada. I have three teenage boys. And what else would you like to know? I don't know what else you would like me to say.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. It just shows that yes, you are qualified to talk about parenting if you have children under your care, either biological or non-biological children. Thank you very much. Also to you, Mama Esther.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone, from wherever you are watching. My name is Esther Odubanjo. I am a mother of three, and I'm an educator. Um, yeah, um, I live in the UK. I live in Lincolnshire, Boston, in the United Kingdom.
All right, great, wonderful. Thank you very much. Nice to have you here. Also to you, Mama Kumbi, you're not new here. So can we know you again for those who are joining us newly?
Thank you once again for having me. My name is Adekumbi Ajayi. I work in the education sector. I'm a lecturer. I have two children, a boy and a girl. They are actually no longer children. They are kind of grown adults.
Yeah,
And I think that's about all. And obviously, I'm married to the most amazing man this side of eternity. Let us not forget. Very
well,
important.
okay.
Yes.
Okay,
The-
thank you. Thank you very much for that. That was interesting to hear. I'm sure they won't be happy to hear you call them children. We're quarter to Ashwebi now, so all right. Mama Tolani, Mama,
Yeah. Thank you so much
again,
for having
just
me
for
again.
those who did not
So
listen
I'm
to last
Shane.
week's
Yeah.
discussion.
I'm Shane Tolanin, and I live in Nuneaton in UK. And I've got two girls, 27 and 25. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we start off with our very first question. And for those who are joining us, thank you very much again for joining. Please share, please ask people to log in. I'm sure you know a few people who would want to benefit from what we have to say today and who may have questions on parenting styles that may actually borrow one or two things from the mamas and papas out here. So thank you very much. Now, the first question is, what are the 4 main parenting styles and how do they differ? Well, there may be more, I don't know, but what are they and how do they differ from each other? Anyone can start because I think the person who was supposed to take this question, you've all done your homework. So please have a go at that question. What are the main parenting styles and how
Good evening.
do they differ from each other?
Good evening. With the little knowledge I know about those things, I think, broadly speaking, though they can be more diversified, more broken into sub styles, but basically speaking, there are 4 types of parenting styles. So we have the authoritative parenting style, we have the authoritarian parenting style, we have the permissive parenting style, and then we have the uninvolved parenting style. So the authoritarian parenting style is that one that just tells you what you need to do. It's not interested in your view or your feelings about it. It's not interested whether you understand the instruction or not. You are just supposed to, once you hear go, even if it's leading you into the fire, just go. And though that particular parenting style is subject to a lot of discussion, but also the people using it, they are very involved in their children's life and they care very much about them. And then we have the authoritative parenting style where the parents involved will give specific instructions, but they talk their mentees or their children, they talk them through why they are giving that instruction. They give them a voice, they give them a chance to hear their view while still making sure that what they want these young people or these children or these their mentees to do is still in place. And then we have the permissive parenting style where anything goes. um, the parents or the mentors or whoever it is that is in charge will just allow the people that they have an oversight on to just do as they please. They don't stop them from doing anything, but in the event that they fall or they get into problems, they are always there to help them. They will never say, I told you so, because they believe that when they fall and they get up, they are learning lessons. And then finally, we have the one that's the subject to, that's my personal view, the uninvolved parenting style. The children are just like weeds. You just leave them, you don't care about them, you don't give them instructions, you don't watch over them. You are just not there. So essentially speaking, like I said, this can still be further broken into subsets, but essentially speaking, those are the major parenting styles.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that before we move on.
I think it was said.
Yes, anything by anyone?
Well, I think she said, she said it all, just for if you want to expatiate more on the authoritarian and the authoritative, because it looks as if they kind of are similar, but they aren't, The authoritarian, like she said, they are very strict. So another word for authoritarian is very strict parent. And the difference between authoritarian and authoritative is that authoritative, you will give instructions. For example, maybe you need to do your homework. If you don't do, give a set of rules. Give you, and then, but also you involve the child. You want the best for the child. So you set you set rules for the child, but you are involved in the child in making that child do it. So it's like you are supportive, you are encouraging the child. That is the authoritative. For the authoritarian type of parenting, will just say, you know what, I want you to get straight A's. if you don't go get straight A's, maybe don't come to this house, or you kind of set strict rules for a child, and you set a high expectation for a child while you're not really directing the child to be able to come and to do that thing. So you're not supporting, you're just giving rules, dishing out rules, and you're not being supported. That's just being, strict. That's authoritarian. So I just wanted to add that to it, if it makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other? I've put that on the screen. I had to ask ChatGPT what they think, and of course we know that all these sometimes they could be right, they could be wrong, they could be over the top. But let me use this table they've shown. So thank you very much for your contribution. It talks about the child outcomes for authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and uninvolved. And I don't know how many of us did you pick anything from here that you think this might be wrong, or actually this is correct. From that table, we can see the differences at a glance.
Yes, I
can read it.
Oh, you can read
it.
Yes,
you can my eyes.
Can you read it? I think it's.
I can read it too.
Yeah, we can read it.
Okay, it's better now.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay.
So it's actually classed it into warmth in terms of support and discipline in terms of rules. So it's saying that the authoritative have high warmth, high discipline, which brings about independent children, confident children, and emotionally balanced children. Okay. And authoritarian, it's got low warmth, low support, high rules, high discipline, and you have obedient but anxious children, and they've got low self-esteem. Then we have the permissive one, where there's a high warmth, low discipline, and the children struggle with self-discipline and entitled behavior, while the uninvolved, low warmth, low discipline, emotionally withdrawn, behavioral issues. And do we agree to that? Let me see your comments for people who are watching online from YouTube. Can you please type your comments? Do you agree with what is on the screen? And do we say yes to it or no to it, or what is the we have about it before we move on to the next question? I think it's a bit, it gives a bit of summary to, okay, we agree to it. So those are the 4 types, and this is what we'll be basing our discussion on today. Let me take that out of the screen so we can ask the next question. So thank you very much. To those joining us, thank you. We are appreciative that you are behind the scene watching and listening. Now let's make it more interactive. How does an authoritative parenting style balance discipline and warmth? And why is it considered effective? So this question goes to Mama Sheon and Mama Tara. She's not here, but over to you, Mama Sheon, and anyone else who can chip.
Thank you once again. I think it's the table that you televise or showcase has already said it all. When we say authoritative, it's kind of like an interrelational, like we discussed last week about emotional thing. So when you're authoritative, you still have the authority and you are still leading the children, but you are taking them.
Okay, the internet has decided to play upon us. So she's talking about the authoritative one, which is there. Let me see if I can bring her back. Thank you to those joining. Thank you for your comments. I can see your comments. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay. So as I was saying, as you said last week about emotionally, when you are training a child and they are able to participate, it's not because I said so. I think that's the main difference between authoritarian and authoritative, is that the authoritarian are forceful and they don't want to listen. It is only their way. So if it is only your way, you are just dishing the information I'm not processing it. But whatever you've not get involved to do, you might not know the intricacy of how to do it. But if you're authoritative, even though you are the one in charge, but you are training them the skills of life by getting them involved in your expectation. So if you know, well, I need to do this, and my mom said this, and you affirm them, but when they failed as well, you encourage them. All of this builds your independence because you are able to process it. But it's like if you see a child that's grow up on a farm, they know how a seed grow from the seed to a corn. But if they just go to hazard and get the corn, those of them they might even thinking, oh, maybe the purple just dropped off from the sky. But if you know the process of life, what it involves, the warmth and the affirmation makes them to be socially independent, emotionally stable, and academically they know it's not like this is what you have to do. Even though I've seen at work, we have a very bad incident that though it was an anesthetist, it was able to achieve the academic, pursuit that his parents chose for him. But because it was not his choice and they didn't listen to him, at the end of his career, he committed suicide because it cannot please them any longer. But I'm seeing in another way, a child might say, oh, I just want to be a teaching assistant. And you let them know, okay, if you're a teaching assistant, this is the money you're going to get, this is what you're going to be. And you are able to tell them the truth. So I believe the authoritative stands out because socially they are developing. Academically, they know that they are involved, they are participants in the decision making, and emotionally, and the self image of, oh, I've done this, I've achieved this with the help of my parents. I think that's why the authoritative stands out more and is very warmly an approach to embrace.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Um, thank you. So, are there any more addition to that? I know someone was trying to.
Just a quick one. I just wanted to say, and I want to say it with a lot of carefulness. I want to also emphasize that I'm not generalizing this view. It's just my personal view based on my personal experiences, obviously, as a mom, a parent, and also in the line of work that I do. Because I can see a question here saying that, oh, what kind of style will you advise us to use? I think, judging from the little I've learned from my own children and the opportunity that I've had to teach and exercise authority over a wide range of thousands of children from different backgrounds, different stages in their lives. I have found that for me, I need to emphasize that this is my view. I think the best approach will be a mix of the three, depending also on the individual that you are talking about, the individual child, and also their age and their stage in life. And I will very, very quickly give an example. So take, for instance, I have had to work in places where they call public referral units, children that have been taken away from normal schooling. Some of those children, they have been to prison and they have been reintroduced into education. Some of them, they have issues with drugs. You are not, in some instances, if you want to save them and you want to save yourself and you want to save your job, you are not going to be authoritative in some instance. Let's take another example. Take a child of 3, a 3-year-old, and maybe an 18-year-old child. Now, this child of 3, I have told you, between so and so time, put your iPad away. And I'm still saying, Coco, my darling, don't do that. Don't play with your iPad. Go and sit in the naughty corner. All of these corners that we use. Now, this cuckoo child is not cuckooing. It's not listening. We have at that time to enforce the absolutes and debate the non-essentials. So there has to be a mix of the three, depending on the individual, depending on the situation, depending on the challenges and the circumstances of, depending also on the age. So for me personally, the kind of method, there must be more of authoritative, regardless of the age of the child, because that is what brings the most positive outcome. But if you're going to have a balanced child, a balanced individual, a balanced functioning adult, you cannot just stick to any one single one throughout the space.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's not a one size fits all. It depends on, there's so many factors. It depends on the child, the parent. You can't tell a very quiet, gentle parent, hey, authoritative, you do for one day and you'll be stressed out. Or even the environment.
Yeah.
There's so many things that factors that
I think
depend
also, I
on.
think I agree with Sister Kumbi, because as a parent, sometimes you need to just know the hat you need to wear for a child, depending on the child. The child that what you will use for, like I have three children, the type of training you will use for your first might be different, with your second, with your third, depending on the child.
Yeah.
So sometimes even though we say, okay, authoritarian, they are very strict. The part of strictness has to come in sometimes concerning a child. Sometimes you need to just, like, okay, you need to put your, even like I'm an educator. When I first started, I was wondering, sometimes, if you are in this country and then you work in schools, you will know that children, they ask a lot of questions, like, oh, miss, why should we do that? Why? And I'm wondering, like, sometimes you don't need to know, in the sense that, sometimes you just need to do it. Okay? Sometimes, so even why, but sometimes you don't need to know. That was my own, that's an opinion. Sometimes you just need to get on and do it. And why I'm bringing that, sometimes it's like, and I'll share an example. I hope I'm not taking the time.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
There was a particular time in my son's life, my second son. He was a kind of person I can't use the way I train my daughter with him. So there was a time that he was moving with a particular child, even though I've known the child from primary school, they were friends. But I just noticed that this child has changed, and the way he was going, I believe then that the mom was not so kind of getting uninvolved at all. I'll ask her, where's your son? Say, oh, he's gone, he's gone out with the friends and everything. I was like, okay, you don't know where she is. So, and I was quite worried. I said, okay, and I just had to put my feet down and told my son, look, I don't want you to be friends with this person. I just needed to just take that, action then, because I knew in my spirit, okay, I'm a Christian, and I know that the way this boy is going, if he associates with my son, there will be problem, because you're just like teenagers then. And and thank God I took that, because months after, this child started smoking, and then at the end of the day, things just got, I, worse and all that. And now she's not even in school again. So that is why, as a parent, you need to be able to know when to, like, use, I don't really need to explain to my child that, look, you don't, yes, I have to explain some, but there are some things that I cannot even explain to him, which maybe through the Spirit of God then I knew. Because I couldn't explain, you can't just be on the same level and, and explain that to him then. He has to just like follow suit. So that's an example whereby you need as a child, as a parent, to now be an authoritarian. Praise the Lord, if we understand what I mean. Yes.
Okay. You want to say something very quickly before we go to the
Yes,
next
please.
question?
I think the way I'm understanding authoritative and authoritarian is that the only difference is the forceful action. The authoritative also have standards. And the only thing is when we don't explain is when I said so with that explanation. And I agree that we have to combine it. But I think sometimes we tend to go a little bit more authoritarian without an explanation. And I think personally, I find it very difficult, when people don't tell me why I have to do what I need to do. And I have two girls, and majority of time, we use the authoritative method, and to the glory of God, with the fear of God, they came out nice. So even a 3-year-old can reason to a certain extent, because to use authoritarian, where when Sister Kumi was saying, the child was a problem child. But when there's a problem, it's different from when in a day-to-day parenting. So when there's a problem, then we have additional measure. But when it is a normal parenting style, I think being authoritative doesn't mean you don't have the power. It's just how you are utilizing your power.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let me ask the next question. This is very interesting. It feels like we're going to be here for hours. But let's see. Nice. It's a good conversation, and I'm beating myself up now because of time. But I know our viewers are enjoying it, so that's what matters. Let's stay for as long as we can. The third question is: what are some potential risks or challenges associated with permissive parenting? So the permissive one is where there is a high warmth, high support, but low discipline. So what are the potential risks to that? The person to answer is so Mama Esther and Mama Kumbi, those are your questions. Whoever wants to go first.
And I think that the risks are that the children becomes they have poor self-discipline. If you as a parent, you're always permissive. Being permissive is just simply that you permit a lot. The child says that, okay, maybe I want to stay, late, in a play in a friend's. That's fine, you're permitting a lot of things that you should be able to let the child know that, okay, this is not for you at this time, this is not for you at this time. Maybe even sleeping time. An example could be, okay, is it time for you to go to bed? Maybe depending on the age of the child. Maybe the child is 8 years old, 7 years old. At that time, the child needs to um, go to bed at a particular time. And then you say that, I just, okay, can I just stay? And you know the child is going to school tomorrow. So then can I just stay to 9, 10? And the child knows you that you will agree, and then you agree. So that's being permissive. And the child will lack discipline. Difficulty also in respecting authority. A lot of children, and we see that in schools, whereby a child of as early as 4 years old is just um, disrespecting authority, and the child thinks that, oh, everybody will I will do as I want at that age. That means that child is being given everything. I mean, he's being permitted to do a lot of things. So there's a risk of the child not respecting authority, the child being, having poor self-discipline, and also a high likelihood of being and having an impulsive behavior. You see, most of them will have behavior issues, and also maybe not even doing well at school, because maybe the parents are lax. They don't really care about homework, whether the homework is done or not. Okay, you can, don't worry. we can leave it. Oh, the child is too stressful. It's just the homework is so stressful. Those are some of the challenges, and we see that, as teachers, we see that. So, the homework is too much. And then the parents, okay, oh, the homework is too much. So those are some of the risks. The child will become kind of lazy and not have poor self-discipline. So, yeah.
Yes. They will struggle with this self-discipline and entitlement behavior. That part that says entitlement behavior, we see that a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
People expect you to send as if you have trees of money behind your house.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's not go
That's upbringing, that's part of it.
there. All right. So, is there any other answer? Is there any other thing anyone wants to chip into that question about potential risks to permissive parenting?
I think, if I must say, apart from all the other things that have been said, there's the lack of guidance with permissive parenting. The child most often parents him or herself, and that's one of the potential risks. A child, parents themselves don't even have a manual. We don't know how to parent well. We learn on the job. And then talk less of a child that, parents themselves, because the parents, permissive parenting just means leaving the child to do whatever they feel they want to do, or leaving them to do whatever they think is right to do. So you find out that when you find it's normally because the parent doesn't really have the time for the child, or doesn't even really want to get hands-on involved with the child. So the child is left to parent he or herself, and those are one of the risks. A child that doesn't know anything, doesn't know left from right, is left to now fashion out a path for their lives, and you find out, of course, they will do whatever they see or they think is the most appropriate way for their life. So that's even one of, I think, one of the most potential risks. And I might say that we're seeing a lot of that in our society today. People that haven't been brought up well because there was nobody there to bring them up.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you very much for that addition. Mama Kumbi, do you have anything else to say, or do we move on to the next one?
Yes, please. Move on to the next one. It's all covered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is thank you to those who are behind the scene. Thank you to those who are typing out and helping to answer questions. Thank you very much. Next question is, how does an authoritarian parenting approach impact a child's confidence, independence, and emotional well-being? Over to you, Mama Esther and Mama Sheung. Who's speaking first? I can unmute you. Yes, Mama Sheung, over to you.
So I think with the authoritarian, as I already said, they don't have, there's this saying that authoritarian, sometimes they train you for job, but not for life. Because you have the discipline, but there's no interactive skills. You can be the best in your academic careers because this is what I want you to do. And they do it and they excel. But when it comes to having self-trust, I think majority of time, I might be wrong. Some people find it they cannot even have self-trust because they don't know. Some people, they marry, they say have to go back to their dad or their mom. Any little thing that happens in the wedding, they cannot even make that decision because they've always been told what to do. So they have to go to their mom to say, oh, my wife said this. Should we go for holiday? My parents said this. Because they've not been brought up to develop that skills of making decisions. And that's why I think authoritarian is a little bit something I struggle with a little bit. And when it comes to social skills, I think they lack in it as well. And emotionally, they're not often stable because they've not been allowed to express themselves. So I will let Sister Esther continue.
Okay.
What I just want to say is that I think some of the children, depending on the way the authoritarian parent, disciplines, because some of them are very, very strict, and they are, because they have low warmth, it's low warmth. They don't really, they don't really bring those children to to the fact that, the children, they become afraid of them. And because of that, they are not open. They do things in fear.
Fair, yeah.
And they are so anxious, and because, oh, my dad, wants me to maybe get straight A's, so I must. So they work under pressure, not because they want to, but because they are afraid that they don't want to fail. Some of us, that maybe some people that grew up in those days, that those kind of the parental attitude. So it's not like, okay, if you do something, there's a reward for it. It's like you're just doing it to please your parents, and you have that fear that, oh, if I don't please my parent, if I don't do it, not for yourself, but you're doing it because your parents are asking you to do it. So they don't know they are living under fear, under anxiety, and it could affect their upbringing and emotionally. And they become maybe married, they become older, and then they kind of transfer those kind of aggression and all those the behavior into their children. So I think that is the disadvantage of just being so strict and not combining that strictness with the authoritative. So that is the way. If you're just strict and you're using that, strict, and you're not combining with the authoritative one or permissive one, then it becomes dangerous.
Yes, thank you very much. And we also know that they use a lot of punishment rather than discussion or guidance. If you do this,
Yeah.
you go for it.
Yeah.
If you do this, it's 10 strokes, it's koboko,
Yeah.
it's this, is there's no, "Oh, let's discuss why was this done." It's all about punishments. That's the focus. So it's a very big one. And we know that occurs a lot in from settings some of us have come from. All right, we'll go on to the next question, which is number 5. What effects can an uninvolved or neglectful parenting style have on a child's development? That is for, well, actually, 3 people chose. Okay, so the people here, Mama Kemi and Mama Tara, over to you. Can you please tell us about this uninvolved or neglectful parenting style?
Hello again, everyone.
Hello.
So, for parents that are using the neglectful or uninvolved parenting style, I believe it is quite impactful, and it has a very high significant impact on those kind of children. They tend to have low self-esteem. It might result in low self-esteem for such kids because they did not experience the warmth and guidance of the parents as they grow up. So such kids are not they are not really confident or even able to speak up for themselves because there's no guidance in their life. And then they also tend to make mistakes and error because then they are left to parent themselves, like someone said earlier. So they're going to make decisions on their own, whether it's right or wrong, because they are young. They do not know right from left per se because no one has given them that guidance. Probably, I guess some of those kids would end up just looking in around them, in the community that they are, to pick up things, or maybe through social media or television and stuff like that, because they do not know anything. There's no parental guidance or parenting in their present in their lives. When I found out that doesn't even really seem to be a parenting lifestyle to me. That must have resulted from something, because it's difficult to see a parent or parents who would not want to be involved in their children's life, unless of course maybe drugs are involved, maybe they are so themselves. There's something going on. There's a problem. But if that's the situation, the way it affects those children, their academics may also suffer. So they tend to struggle academically to achieve success because there's no one giving them the support at home to like make sure they do their homework, or even maybe submit their homework and things like that. So academically, they tend to struggle, they tend to have low self-esteem. And of course, a lot of all these things that kids tend to learn as they grow older also come back to impact their adult life, you know. So I believe they could also have issues with relationships, whether it's with their spouse or their friends, you know. So those are all of there's a whole lot of impact. Period. We are meant to be guardians. We are meant to guide, to lead, to protect, offer warmth to these children so they can thrive and grow up to be, you know, adults that can face challenges and overcome these challenges that is just there in life for us to come across. So those are some of the things I believe would
Yeah,
make
thank you very
suffer from.
Yeah, thank you very much. And before Mama Tara comes up to talk about her own part of it, I just wanted to say, you know, looking at it with compassion or empathy, I'm not sure which one now, whichever shoe it is that it fits in. I think there's some who actually go through health challenges and are not able to. Maybe they've got life-threatening challenges, and this is where if we know that someone in your community or your, you know, we all are involved in different places, in your school, in your wherever it is, we know we have authority over or leadership over, and we notice that because we now know the consequences of this to those children, because these children will grow up to be adults too, and they will live with our children, and you know, so you want to help as much as you can to someone says I always have this superhero mentality. Well, you know, it's not about having a hero mentality. It's just about, you know, looking at what could happen in the future if these children are neglected and nobody picks it up. So if we have people like that, the reason we're saying this to the world, not just, you know, to us here, to the world, is there may be people who are suffering because of health challenges and some things beyond their control. How can we step in? Glad we have charities all around in this part of the world, but there's some countries where they haven't got that. The child is the father and the mother and the one who works for the whole family. So we see that, well, in movies, and as well for those who are associated with such people, you may know them. So I think it's time for us to start showing empathy to those kind of people and see how, you know, they can be helped if they are in that situation, because it's a very tough place for a child to be in. It's a very tough place. Well, there we go. Let's carry on. So Mama Tara, over to you. What do you think are the effects?
I think the first speaker has said most of, you know, the things that I would have said, but looking and thinking about the topic, and I came in late, so I don't know whether definitions have been made, but I just wanted to say that being uninvolved or neglectful, sometimes we think it's just you know we think, oh, the parent that is uninvolved or neglectful could be the parent that is not taking care of the child, you know, is very lax about the child. You've given an example of a person that is ill, but I wanted to say that we could be doing the normal things we think, you know, parenting is all about, and still be uninvolved with our children's life. And I think that's what we should. We thought we could be paying the school fees, we could be making meals for them, we could be doing a lot of things, but we don't know what is happening in the children's lives themselves. We don't know who their friends are. We don't know what they're thinking. We don't know their thoughts about, you know, life and about scenarios. We don't even know what's, and there are a lot of people like that. So let's look at uninvolved parenting away from somebody that just throws the child into the society or into the streets, but look at the children in our lives and ask ourselves, do we really know our children? Are we really involved in their everyday life? You know, at least as much. They won't tell us everything. I have adult children, you know, and I know for sure that they're not going to tell you everything, but you know, are they going to tell you most things? Are they comfortable enough to tell you the things that, you know, they should be telling you? So let's look at it from emotionally, because a lot of us, especially as Africans, we grew up with parents that were not emotionally available to us. We couldn't really talk to our parents. There was that gap. And, so the question I'm asking is, are we replicating it in our children's lives? Can they talk to us, especially us of the some of us that are very religious? Do you understand? Our children are living in a different world from the world that we grew up in, and sometimes they can't come to meet us because they know that the first thing we're going to say is, I bind it, I do this, and so we're not, because of that, they shut up some part of their lives from us. They show us the part that they think we'll be pleased with, and we'll find out that we're not involved with their lives. So that also too is uninvolved parenting, and I just wanted us to shed a light on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's that's a heavy one. Thank you very much. We need to also talk about those aspects as well. Thank you. Is there an addition? Okay, before going to the next one.
Thank you so much, sister. But that's what I wanted to say, that unconsciously, some parents are not involved. We've had situation whereby this girl from primary school was sent to a boarding school, from boarding school to secondary boarding school, then to university. Then from university, she's now married and have a problem. So we involved financially to send them to school, but like sister said, we've not actually involved with their day-to-day growth. And when you now see it, majority of people that are having a marital problem is that they've not learned anything from their parents. Because we think, oh, we got all the money now, let's send them to school. And one of the boys said us, where in the community I belong, that is the lazy parent that sent their children to boarding school. That was his own view. Because this girl, I came across her and she said, if I have gone, I can shoot my parents because they think they've given me everything, but I'm struggling. So unconsciously, we might not be involved. And even now, some people, they'll go on night shift, the children are sleeping by themselves, they give them the iPad to be their parents. So I just wanted to chip that in, that unconsciously, we might not be involved, and we need to check it out.
Unconsciously. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we need to so much at the moment. So we've all heard that, and we can see that there's sometimes unconsciously we might be uninvolved. What are those things you can do in your family to get everyone? Well, for people whose nests are still not empty yet, because I know some nests are empty now, and the only thing you can do is, oh, when are you coming? And not. But if the nest is not empty, there's still. I'm not saying there's no hope for those whose nests are empty, but there's still time of, okay, try to rejiggle things and get help if you need help. I know pride will not make some people look for help until everything goes pear-shaped and they can't handle it any longer, then they start seeking for help. So this is a time, it's never too late to ask for help where it is needed, because some are more enlightened or have wisdom in this area than others. So why not we help ourselves? So seek help if you are struggling with your parenting style. Next question is to Mama Esther, Mama Kumbi. Sorry, by the way, I call everyone mamas and papas here because we're all mamas and papas. When it comes to parenting, when we're talking of menopause, we were queens. Now we're mamas and papas. So number 6 is it possible to mix parenting styles, or should parents strive for consistency in one app?
I would say that it is possible.
Yes, Mama Kumbi, over to you. I know.
I think Mama Kemi was about saying something.
I was free.
Oh, were you? Sorry, so sorry. I wasn't looking. All right, over to you.
Yeah, it's okay. So I believe it is possible to mix parenting styles, and as well as strive for consistency. Because while you strive to be consistent in a particular parenting style, you can also, depending on the child, mix a different parenting style with it, or depending on the time or timeline in that child's life. So at some point in life, there may be time probably to be more authoritative, maybe when they are younger, to be more authoritative. And as they get older, there might be need to, have open communication to discuss, have feedbacks from them in order for you to adjust to get better results, while in your parenting. So I believe combining the elements of firmness and warmth, open communication, and all of that could give a better result. So you could combine being authoritative with being permissive at some point, depending on their age, and also depending from one child to the other. While you're being authoritative with one child, another child, that may not work, because maybe probably for like the eldest kids, for instance, some of them already put pressure on themselves, and you don't want them to just be that restrictive or too hard on themselves. They are hard on themselves, and you are also putting some kind of pressure or expectation. I think that's the word, some expectation on them. So at some point in time, you may be a little bit permissive, maybe as they get older, so you get a better result from them. So I believe there's need sometimes to make some style.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So no, like I know people say, oh, consistency is key, but you can't be consistent in doing the going the wrong way, just like going the opposite direction consistently. Is they say is only an insane person does the does how do they say it? Does the same thing over and over again and expects a different result. So if you see it's not working, at that stage, change it and see what works. So okay, it's saying up. Are we still connected? Is everyone
Yes.
hearing me?
It's
Yes, we
breaking.
can see. Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay.
It's breaking a little.
Yes, better now.
Okay, over to you. Okay, because it said it was reconnecting, so I wasn't sure if I was being heard. So thank you very much. Over to you. And thank you to people like Amy Maros, who has written comments, says you always have to adapt your parenting style based on the child's needs, but remain consistent in your approach. Same she says, thank you all for tonight's session. It was very informative. Thank you very much for joining in. And she's also made some comments as well about creating time for you and your child, even if they have left home. So it's not only, so even if your child has left home, try to create time for them. Go and visit them. If they won't come to you, go to them. That's if they don't lock their doors before you get there. So there was that was so true. They will show up only, they will show us only aspects of their lives they want us to see. Thank you very much, Mama Pat. She was also here last week for her own part of it. And so many other comments. Thank you very much. Let's go on to the next one, because if we carry on, we won't live here today. Does anybody want to say anything before I move on to the next question? We've talked about mixing parenting. Yes? Anyone wants to say anything about mixing parenting? Okay. If not, we'll go on to the next one. So, next one is, how can parents identify their parenting styles and make adjustments if needed? That's number 7. Mama Tara, over to you.
Well, I think the first thing to do is to read up. There's a ton of knowledge on the internet today. Yes. Can you hear me?
Can you hear it all?
Hello? Someone's saying
Yeah,
yes.
we can hear you, but
Okay.
we can hear you. I think
She's out.
I think they're breaking.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you hear me now? Okay. So I was saying that the very first thing is get informed. You know, there's a ton of knowledge on the internet today. The parenting classes that you can go for, the YouTube channels you can listen to. There's Google. If you Google parenting styles, for example, Google will give you the 4 parenting styles. So first of all, get to understand and go for knowledge and ask, or even ask and then do questionnaires. I ask my children. I always get feedback from them. I think of scenarios and stuff like that, and then I get feedback from them. What do you think of my parenting style? What do you think I am doing? Ask your friends, ask your partner, and then they will be able to tell you, what you do, and then you can put yourself and identify yourself in the proper and appropriate parenting style that you're operating. And yes, making adjustments. I think the first thing as parents is to own up to the fact that we're not perfect. One, once you understand that you're not perfect, that you will make mistakes, then it's easier to adjust. But if you think, oh, I'm the parent, I know it all, then you're not going to adjust well. So the first thing is knowing that you're not perfect. Then also, I believe in my kids are, my eldest is 29 this year. I believe in parenting changing with the years as they come. So you're first a parent, then you're a friend. Now I'm in the friend mode or zone. We talk, we gist. But yes, you have to be a parent first before you're a friend. A lot of us mix, put the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Say, oh, we want to be friends first
Yes.
before. It
Yeah.
won't work. But if you do the parenting well, you find out that you would become friends later on. So ask them, ask for feedback and say, oh, this is what I want to do, this is how I think I portray myself. You'll be surprised to think that the things that you're portraying is not the things that the people are seeing, that your children are seeing. So always ask for feedback, and once you get that feedback, apologize to them. It's very difficult sometimes as parents to say, oh, I've been wrong here, but there's nothing to it, because we're all working, we're all new to this thing. There's no manual to it. Nobody is knowledgeable about it. So apologize if you have to apologize, and say, oh, look, I didn't know that it affected you this way. Tell them, be vulnerable with them. I'm working this part for the very first time. So I did what I saw my parents do, or what I thought should be the right thing to do. And once you can do that and buy it in, and if they see that you're genuine, your children would work with you, to make that parenting style easier. So making adjustments, acknowledge that you don't know everything. Read up on parenting. That's one thing that we don't do. We think it comes natural. It doesn't really come natural. We have to read up on parenting, read up on things, and just sometimes use your some women, for example. I'll give that example. We shout a lot, and we're always shouting, and the men don't shout. They just say something and the children just follow, and so I told myself, I'm going to learn how not to shout, and I did learn. I read a book, How to Talk So That You Will Be, I've forgotten the name of the book, somewhere on that shelf, How to Talk So You'll Be Heard, or something like that. And I found that for most women, it's because we are not really serious, and the children know that we're not really serious when we say things first. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to change my style, so that once I tell you what I want you to do, and I tell you the consequences for not doing what I want you to do, I'm going to follow through. So I'm not going to say, hey, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. No, once you get fouled, and that's the way to change it. I read up on it, and I activated or practiced what I learned. And when I started doing that, my kids, I wasn't shouting anymore. I just found out that I wasn't the shouting parent anymore. So everybody understood it. Sometimes it just took an eye to say, okay, things have turned around, and everybody just, addresses themselves. So it's possible to do that. Once we can identify, we'll make adjustments, and, learning and practicalizing what we've learned. Really, to change. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any additions to that? If not, we'll move on to the next one. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, she deserves a round of applause because I see you clapping. And I can see your library is so massive. Wow. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm gonna get swallowed up in there if I come, if I dare come there.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We go on to the next question, which is what do cultural, societal, and generational influences no, how, sorry. How do cultural, societal, and generational influences shape parenting styles and their effectiveness? I'm sure we all have a lot to say about this if we have to go down our own route. Oh, it's 1 hour already, but yeah, we have just a few more questions, and I'm sure it's worth it for those parents listening out there. Yes, who is
I,
to talk?
I
Mama
just
Shell,
wanted
can you
to
please?
I wanted to say just a tiny little
Okay, over
thing
to you.
about that. The culture is the way of life of a group of people, and it is integrated and internalized. And so, in terms of parenting, that was what I was saying initially. Um, Whatever parenting style
Mm,
that we want to adopt will have to be intentional, and it will be based on the child, the situation, and the circumstances. So in terms of how culture, take for instance, I am unrepentantly Nigerian. I grew up in Nigeria. I have parents that had, and I'm so thankful for them, that use both styles very effectively. My mom was a no nonsense woman, and she was authoritarian and authoritative. When she says something, even the angels they listen to her. But yet we were so close to her. We told her everything. I was still remembering earlier on in the evening when I asked my husband to pick something for me. I could actually send my mom on errands. But when my mom says, this is what I want you to do, you better be following our instructions. So, culture will also determine the variations of these four parenting styles. Because if you use the parenting style that is very attuned, take for instance, very attuned to the culture of this place, you go and download or offload that 100% in my village in Nigeria, you're going to be sorry. Because yes, those parenting styles, when adjusted, when adapted, they will work in all circumstances. But the issue of culture is still a very big issue. When we were growing up, it was disrespectful to look straight in the face of an adult. They will say, why are you staring at me? Do you want to know how many tribal marks I have? Then if you continue, get a slap. This side of the world, if you're speaking to people, you have to make eye contact. So you can imagine if I am originally from Nigeria, some people grew up not allowing their children to look at their faces. If I bring that here, that could be problematic. It could destroy the self-confidence of my child. If I were to go to Nigeria and I go to certain places and I'm insisting that I want you to build confidence, I want you to, these things have to be adjusted because culture, unknown to the person that is even in the culture, is internalized. So the society, the culture, the generation, I am from, I don't know what they call our generation. I don't know, generation YZ or whatever. I don't know. But
No, millennial.
that being said,
Z, I mean X.
culture can be affected by generation, but the principles is what matters. The principles are eternal, they are consistent, they will get the same result in every generation if they are appropriately used and appropriately adapted. And if we want to put it succinctly, all of those parenting styles, the summary of it is that you enforce the absolutes and you debate the non-essentials. So there are times you don't come to my house and say, oh, you are now 20 whatsoever, and you bring your girlfriend and you want to sleep in the same room. yes, I'm going to tell you, I really don't want that to happen. You are not listening to me. I'm going to say, this is my domain. You've got to leave my house. So the issue there is that, and if I do that in Nigeria, that's fine. I might not be able to do that here. So I still want that child not to do that, but I must adjust my parenting style to take into consideration the culture, the society, and the generation. For instance, I don't know about some of us here. When our kids were growing up, we have had things like that is passive aggressive. My son says that a lot. He will say, Mom, that is passive aggressive. I cannot, if I say that when I was growing up, I'll be termed to be rude.
Yeah.
But that is that child. That's that child in this context, in this our generation. That's that child telling you that, Mom, is there a better way that you can hear your view? I'm not going to shut him down. If I don't like the tone with which he has said it, I can adjust that. But I have to put into consideration that the society, the culture, the generation needs for adjustment. But we have to never forget, whatever the culture, whatever the society, whatever the generation, these principles are eternal. When properly used and adapted, 100% they will bring the same results.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, lecturer for excellence. Thank you very much. All right. Any other? Okay, yeah, I think who was supposed to answer? Ma'am Sheon, are you?
I think
Yeah.
Sister Adekumi have already said this. And what you said, there's what we call cultural redemption. You see, in every culture, you have the strength and the weakness. So in bringing up our children, we can actually look at what has been done in my culture that is not good, that we can let go. And what is in my culture that is good, that we can edify. So in bringing up our children, we should not let go that intrinsic factor called culture, because in every culture, like Sister said, you have the strength and the weakness. And this will bring, it's like a combination. And like Sister Tara said, that we need to be a reading generation, because there's a wide knowledge there that you can use for cultural redemption, and that will bring absolute great things for our children.
Yes. Can I just add concerning the culture, because we've talked about culture, but we've not really talked about the generational, and I think we need to talk about that to understand our parenting style. Because there was a book I read, Help I'm Becoming My Mother, and you find out that your generation, your mother's parenting affects you.
Yeah.
Parent the way you were parented. It takes a very conscious effort, to go away from that parenting. You have to be conscious about it and say, oh, I don't want to do what my mother did because of this effect on me. But your first point of call really is your mother, the way you were parented. And so the generational parenting does affect our parenting, and we have to look at that and see that, okay, if there were things that I am unconsciously doing, do you understand? It might just be because I got that from my parents. And if I want to be intentional about it, then I'll have to stop that and take the good, like Keith said, take the good out of it and leave the bad. But our default really is our parenting style. And the sooner we understand, the better for us in our own parenting journey.
Can I quickly say one or two things about that?
Yes.
Okay, because that's something that I actually had to deal with when I moved here. Parenting or the culture from where I grew up is different from where I live or where I'm bringing up my children, and having that balance was quite rough, and it was an intentional act to be able to get have that balance, and not like I'm there or not like I got it 100%. And that is a disclaimer, because I even wondered, like, Kevin, what are you doing on this kind of talk? Are you even qualified? But I believe is a progressive thing. It's not something that you would say you've achieved fully, except maybe for parents here who have trained their kids, they become adults, and now they can say maybe they did great or something like that. But for me, I'm right in the middle of it, in the midst of it. I'm still, apart from saying maybe what I think or believe, I'm also learning from this platform, just like people at home as well. So that was really tough. It was intentional to want to take the values from my own upbringing or from my culture, and then getting here and looking at what are the other things here that I can also bring in. What are the things I need to let go from back home? Like I thought, when you speak to a child and being affirmative and being authoritative, they say do this, and sometimes when they do not respond, you want to follow through and all that stuff. But I also found out that there are instances that I needed to listen to them to know, okay, so you need to get this thing done. What is standing in? Having that conversation, that's not it back home. It's either you do it. If you haven't done it, like maybe you didn't do dishes and my mom comes back, all those kind of stuff. Oh, you're just gonna pay for it. I have no idea whether you have a certain homework that you're supposed to turn in, and it's more than usual, and you need to do homework, and then you do your house chores, and then other things. And so I need to kind of be able to listen and be able to align all of them in order to know where I stand in my parenting, and just have that balance. It was tough, but I think it's getting better now because they are more reasonable as they grow older. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. And I must say, for people listening, those of us here, we're far from perfect parents, agent parents. We are somewhere how God has helped us, but hearing of everyone else. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are no perfect at all. We are just doing what we think should be done, adding value to our, to our society, and drawing more light to this parenting style so that we can know where we are moving off the rail, how to come back, and where we are on it, how to improve on it. So we are all here to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So thank you very much for making yourself available to share your knowledge. We are learning from our different experiences, and no one knows it all. That's why we're all together. Iron sharpening iron. Thank you very much for that. Is there any other thing anyone wants to say before I choose the last question? Though we have two, but I'll just choose one because of our time. And anyone has anything else to say before I go to the last one? I think we've already talked about the last one. I mean, the 10th one, which is how do parenting styles influence a child's future relationships. So I'll go on to the 9th one, which is the final one for tonight. What practical strategies can parents use to transition from a less effective style to a more balanced approach? So this is where people listening are saying, okay, we've said it all the parenting styles, the consequences, the risks, and all of that. Now what next? So this is where we want to be able to, say what we think could be practical strategies that can help to transition from a less effective style to a more balanced approach. Over to you. Oh, let me see who is supposed to take that question.
Okay.
Yes,
okay, go on.
Mama Kemi, Mama Tara, those are your questions. Will anyone else add?
Okay, I just wanted to say that I think I'm so sorry, I've forgotten the name of the beautiful lady that has the beautiful library. Tara. Okay. She said something that I think for me and from a personal point of view, I find very good a strategy. It's just for us to not be proud. It's just for us to realize that, oh, I am doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome is some sort of madness. So if we are doing our parenting in a particular way with the best of intentions and it's not giving us the kind of results that we want, let us not quickly say, it's that we have bad children or it's the devil, let us first look inward and see, okay, this is the way I am doing it. Is there any other way of doing it? The second thing that I think might be of some help, and we as parents, that's myself and my husband, we have tried that, is to get feedback from your children. You know, I don't know, I want to say this with carefulness, but as Africans, we believe that as parents, we can't apologize, we can't ask our children, we can't get, it shouldn't be like that because they are on the receiving end of our parenting styles. So we should get that time when we actually ask them, oh, this way I am doing. Are there things there when our children were a lot younger, and even till now we still do that? Are there things that we are doing that you don't like or you prefer for us to do in different ways? Because when you get young people, children, to commit to your style, you are better able to get more balanced children instead of rebellious children. So we can also ask them. And finally, wisdom is the principal thing. In all you're getting, get wisdom, get understanding. We need to read. We need to talk to people that we can see results. They have done it and they're getting good results. Don't be proud. I shouldn't say that. I may not like Dr. Abel, but if I like her parenting style and she's getting results, I will forget that I don't like her. I will go close to her to learn what she has done and see how I can improve on what I am doing in the hope that I can get the kind of result or a better result than what she is getting. The operative word is that let us learn, let us not be prideful, let us dialogue with our children, let us not think that we are there, because parenting is an everlasting learning curve. You will never get to that place where you think you have arrived.
Thank you. Let me just give a practical example and answer in answering that question. When my son was 5 or 6, I think, my daughter is 3 years older than him, so she was about 9.
Yeah.
No, they were both in primary school. I think I can't, but it was about 3, 5, 4, 6. We went to a bookshop together, my daughter, my son, and I. And we got back home. It was in the same, we lived in GRA then, so it was in the same locality. And I was washing something when my son came to me with a pencil in his hand. And he said, "Oh, I took this pencil." Apparently, when we went to the bookshop, he had taken the pencil from the bookshop. And, his sister saw it and said, "Better go and tell mommy what you did." And so he came, and immediately I told him, I said, "You didn't take it. You stole this pencil." And so immediately I told him, "Let's get into the car. We're going back to that bookshop." And we went back to the bookshop with the pencil. And when I got there, I told the sales girl there, "Oh, this boy came to this shop with me and he took your pencil." I looked at her and I told her I wanted her to be serious about it and get him scared, because the first thing that came to my mind, and I think that is what should come into our mind, was not, "Oh, this boy has embarrassed me, has disgraced me." No, the first thing that came into my mind was, how can I teach this boy a lesson that he will never do this again in his life? That was the thing. And it was the wisdom, I think, that God gave me that took me to that. So when we got to the sales girl now told him, "Oh, if the number of pencils have been recorded and all that, if my boss came and found out that there was one missing and there was not the money for it, he will have sacked me, and I will have left." And so I won't told the security by the door that could they take him to the police station now, so that he could report. And he was crying, and he was saying, "I'll never do that again." I didn't know, I didn't beat him. Normally you would think you would beat. I didn't beat him. And then, but the lesson was learned, because the next time we went there, maybe like a month, afterwards, as we were leaving, "I didn't take anything. I didn't take anything. I didn't take it." And he's 25 now. I saw him over the Christmas and we talked about that incident, and he said, "Mommy, it's an incident I will never forget in my life." So what are the practical steps we can do? You don't let's because for each situation and for each incident with our children, there it's on unknown ground, unknown territory. And I like what Mrs. Ajayi said, or Mama Kemi said, Kumbi said, wisdom is profitable to direct. And the first thing you should ask is, what can I do so that it will be a learning curve? You see, once we understand that, then we'll be able to go beyond, strategies and things that people have written, and we'll find the appropriate, solution for the situations that happen to our children. But if we are saying also that we want to go by what somebody said or what somebody did not do or say, it might be the right thing, but it might be the wrong thing in that situation. So it's very important that we should look at, when we're parenting, what am I striving to? What do I want this child to be like in the future? And then we use that image that we have, that vision that we have, to chart a path for our parenting styles and skills. But I think that's basically what I want to say, Mama.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to add.
Thank you very much. I can see so many comments here. Whoa.
Just to add,
Okay.
just to add one thing, everyone has said, a lot of things concerning that, and wisdom is the principal thing. Learning, you can, like, Mrs. I mean, Mama, the other speaker that's Mama, I just spoke now. Yeah, yeah, you said something before that, going on the internet, learning from people, learning, and unlearning too. Also, knowing what has not worked. Because sometimes you think, oh, this has worked for my, maybe my first daughter, but no, why is it not working? I think I can use the same style. But you cannot use the same style for every child. You can't. I can remember, many years ago, my first son, I was wondering, I was thinking that, look, this should be able to work for him, but it was not just working. And I just had to, concerning his work. He was someone that he didn't want to like. He didn't want to like study. When he didn't like anything, reading, nothing. So, the way I was just kind of, and then it became like an emotional. It began to affect me, and I knew that the way I was going about it, maybe it was not even about the child, it was about, I want him to do, so I had to like kind of retract and kind of looked at, okay, what is not working? How am I going to approach this particular child? How am I going to, what necessary steps do I need to take? So I tried, using other things, to help him. So I think we need to know what is not working and kind of step back and use and ask for wisdom, and ask for wisdom from God, that God will help you. Because sometimes we don't know it all. Like we said, we don't know it all. We don't, every child is different and every child needs different strategies. So being open to people who want to learn, and God helping us, I believe that we'll be able to break forth and break.
Yeah. True. Thank you very much. Oh, so many comments I can't read, but thank you very much for all of the comments in the comment section. Thank you to our guests for adding value to this talk. I don't think we could have, done it better than we have. It's so full, so rich, and I wish everyone could listen to it and just gain one or two things. So, like you said, there are people who are experts in this area. There's somebody I was searching up online. In fact, I listened to her, and I know, yes, she may have her ways, and I listened to her, and I also actually enrolled in one of the courses she does. Not that well. I tell people, I'm like a sponge. I just like to soak up. So either I want to know what I don't know. So let me show you. It's just people know her. Wendy Ologe. She's an expert at this, and that's what she does for a living. So
Very
it's not
amazing
coming here.
woman.
So that's her page. And so for people who need help, that's why I'm bringing up this. If anyone is here who needs help, this is someone who knows her onions. She's a multi-award winning parenting coach. And so please reach out. And she's got books. You can see so many books that have been written. There's one I'm reading. Discipline is not, what is it again? The last one we read was Connect to Correct. And because we're in kind of a group, connect to correct. And this discipline is not an emergency, and all of those, so many, things. And you even listen to our podcast, is so enriching. So if anyone needs help, that's why I'm bringing this up. Please, like mamas and papas have said, do not be too proud to want to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I pray that every effort we make over our children will not go in vain. Thank you very much, mamas and papas. I cannot thank you enough. And we await our next one. Thank you to those behind the scene, Mama Pat, Mama Amy. Thank you very much. Someone says, oh, I did the same thing with my child when he took a sweet at the shop. Okay, so there's so many people using that strategy. Thank you. The next one we have is going to be, where is it now? Putting it up on the screen. It's not coming up. Yeah, it's raising financially literate children. Financially literate children. And I'm sure we have some guests who would help with that. Thank you very much. I say thank you to everyone. We'll call it a day. We'll draw the curtains and say have a good night.
Thank you for having us.
Good night. Good night. Thank you for inviting us. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, Amy Maros. Thank you for being there and chatting with, so many things that have been said. I can't start bringing up everything on the screen. The father might not shout simply because he's, there's so many things that have been said, so many things. So as people go into the talk and rewatch this, I'm sure they will get to see some of those comments. So thank you very much for adding value to it. And this is where we call it a night. Next week is about raising financially literate children. Let me take that off the screen. Raising financially literate kids. So it's never too late to do that. Let's take it one step at a time, and we'll see that it makes a whole lot of difference. Have a good night rest, and I wish you a lovely time till we see next time next week. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Have you subscribed to my Welcome to Dr. Bunmi Abel TV, where we inspire and inform you endlessly, with knowledge to guide, uplift, and grow. Thank you for joining, it's a journey, let's go. To all the new subscribers, welcome aboard. We're so glad you're here, there's so much in store. Returning friends, thank you once again. Together we'll learn and share the game. From wisdom to insight, each video's a gift, helping you rise, giving your spirit a lift. So hit that subscribe, stay tuned to see all the great things on Dr. Bunmi Abel TV. To all the new subscribers, welcome aboard. We're so glad you're here, there's so much in store. Returning friends, thank you once again. Together we'll learn and share the game. To all the new subscribers, welcome aboard. We're so glad you're here, there's so much in store. Returning friends, thank you once again. Together we'll learn and share the game.